This is week 6, Wednesday's assignment, zeros in the product, lesson 24, page 47 and page 48, I believe, yep. Okay, so zeros in the product, it's exactly what it is, zeros in the answer to a multiplication problem. Now, we're going to be working with decimals here, and with decimals, only when you're adding and subtracting decimals do you have to line them up, okay? Not when you're multiplying. You do not need to line up these decimals when multiplying numbers, okay? So I want you to look at step 1 here. It says multiply as with whole numbers. Now, 3 times 9 we know is 27, all right? But we have 300ths times 9/10, okay? What I like to do is how I teach students is go ahead and answer what 9 times 3 is, and that is 27. And then you count, remember? You count how many numbers you have behind that decimal. You have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal there. So that means your answer needs to have 3 numbers behind the decimal. You fill it in with a 0. You have 2 numbers here already, but you have 1 more number here, which makes 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3, behind the decimal. Your answer needs to reflect what your question is. You have 1, 2, 3 digits behind the decimal. Your answer needs to have 3 digits behind the decimal. Let's look at example 1, problem number 1, right? Zeros in the product. So for number 1, it already gave you the answer. 8 times 1 is 8. But how many numbers do we have behind the decimal? We have 1 here, and we have 1 here. That's a total of 2 numbers behind the decimals, okay? So that means your answer needs to have 2 numbers behind the decimal. You simply fill in a filler for that extra number. Now you have 1, 2 numbers, don't forget your decimal, behind the number. So 8/10 times 1/10 actually equals 8/100, okay? Pretty simple. This is an easy one. You guys should fly through this one. 4 times 7 is 28. I'm going to count how many digits I have behind my decimals. I have 1, 2, 3. So my answer needs to have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal. Number 3, 300ths times 3/10. Well, we know 3 times 3 is 9. Again, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 digits are behind the decimal. There's my decimal, and there's 1, 2, 3. So my answer needs to reflect that. I need to have 3 digits behind my decimal here. I already have 1 here, which is my 9. I'm going to fill in with my 2 zeros. Now I have 1, 2, 3 behind the decimal. Okay, so 300ths times 3/10 is actually 9,000. And the way that I know that is I'm going to multiply my whole numbers. Well, my numbers here, they're not whole yet. My whole numbers here. Then I'm going to fill in with the zeros. Okay, 3 numbers behind the decimal, 3 digits behind the decimal. Getting those confused. Now we have 600ths times 5/10. Okay, same thing. I'm going to do the exact same thing here. 6 times 5 is 30, right? And it says I need to have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal, 1, 2, 3. But we're working with money here. That's the only thing that's going to be different is this one's money. You see this? Okay, you can't have this as money, but you can have this as your answer. Okay, 3 cents. 600ths times 5/10 equals 3 cents. Okay, don't get confused with that. Pay attention to that dollar sign. 9 times 8. 9 times 8 I know is 72. Okay. 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal. 1, 2, 3 numbers behind the decimal. So your answer of 900ths times 8/10 is 7200ths. And for number 6, 7 times 5 is 35. 1, 2, 3 numbers behind my decimal. 1, 2, filling in with a 0, 3 numbers behind the decimal. So 500ths times 7/10 is 35 thousandths. I'm going to do a couple examples on page 48 because since this one is, pretty easy. It really is pretty easy. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you here. 3 times 1 is 3. 3/10 times 1/10. I got one number there behind the decimal, one number there behind the decimal. That's 2 total. So I need to have 2 total 3/10. Sorry, 300ths is your answer there. Let's look at number 7. 500ths times 4/10. 5 times 4 is 20. I'm going to write that. I have 1, 2, 3 numbers behind my decimal. 1, 2, fill in with a 0. 3 numbers behind my decimal. So 500ths times 4/10 is, you can read this as 20 thousandths, or you can read it as 2/10. Either answer is correct, actually, in this one. And then we're going to do, let's look at number 9. There's another dollar one, okay? So it's going to be different on how we write this. So you have 9 times 1 is still 9. 3 digits behind the decimal, okay? It's actually 90 times 1 if you look at that, right? 90 times 1, so you get 90. 3 numbers behind the decimal. Since it's money, it had to be written like this. So don't get confused about that one. This one was a little bit different. That's why we did it together. It's like 90 times 1, all right? Because there's that 0 behind the digit here. None of these others have a 0 behind those numbers. So that's why I had to put a 0 here, okay? 3 digits behind the decimal, 3 digits behind the decimal, but I'm writing it in money because of this right here. That's how you would write it, okay? You could put that 0 back there, but it really has no significance when it comes to money, all right? So you're going to go ahead and finish this out for me. We did quite a few of them together. You really only need to do questions 3 through 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So once again, this was week 6, Wednesday's assignment. Zeros on the product, page 47 and 48. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can email me, text me, call me. You can send me a message on Remind or on the Google Classroom. Have a good day, kids.